Everyone talks about how Canada reacted to Trump's 2025 tariffs. Everyone points to the 50,000 tons of aluminum that pivoted to Europe as a brilliant response. The media narrative is simple. Trump attacked, and Carney's Canada fought back. But what if the reaction wasn't the real story? What if Trump's tariff trap was never going to work from the start? What if that trap was neutralized, decades in advance, by a different kind of trap, one set by Canada itself? The media focused on the pivot. Today, we are going to focus on the weapon. Module 1. The Hook. This is the story of how a hypothetical 50% tariff designed to cripple a $12.8 billion industry failed. But it didn't just fail, it backfired spectacularly. And it backfired because of a strategic asset the U.S. market completely ignored, but the European market was desperate to acquire. It backfired because of two words: green aluminum. Module 2. The hypothetical scenario. First, let's establish the scenario presented in the original narrative. In March 2025, a 25% tariff is imposed on Canadian aluminum. By June, it's doubled to 50%. For decades, this would have been a checkmate. For the Canadian workers in Quebec or British Columbia, for the communities built around those smelters, this move felt existential. The entire Canadian aluminum industry was built to serve one customer: the United States. 95% of Quebec's aluminum flowed south. It went into American beverage cans, American trucks, American airplanes. This dependency was Canada's greatest vulnerability, per pain point analysis, step 1. Trump's strategy, the tariff trap, was simple: squeeze that vulnerability. Force the $12.8 billion industry to its knees. Force Canadian producers to beg for exemptions. Force Mark Carney's government to make political concessions. And then, the unthinkable happened. Canada didn't beg. Instead, the original story states that within just 3 months, 50,000 tons of Canadian aluminum were redirected. They didn't go south. They sailed east, across the Atlantic. Shipments arrived in Rotterdam, in Italy, in Germany. Europe's share of Canadian aluminum exports jumped from almost zero to nearly 18%. Simultaneously, the price for aluminum inside America, the U.S. Midwest Premium, reportedly surged by 82%, per original script data. American manufacturers, the very people the tariffs were meant to protect, were suddenly paying massively more than their European competitors. American workers in manufacturing plants faced higher costs, making their products less competitive. On the surface, this looks like a story of resilience, a story of a brilliant logistical pivot. But that narrative is incomplete. It misses the entire strategic dimension. Module 3. The real strategic question. This brings us to the key question, the question that unlocks the real story. Why was Europe so ready to buy? Why would German automakers or Italian construction companies, all famously sensitive to cost, suddenly absorb 50,000 tons of a new product? They didn't do it out of kindness. They didn't do it to help Canada. They did it because Canada possesses a strategic advantage that the U.S. market, for decades, had treated as worthless. They did it because while Trump was focused on the price of aluminum, Europe was focused on its carbon footprint. This is where the real story begins. The story of Canadian green aluminum. Module Cat. Decoding green aluminum, the secret weapon. To understand this, you need to understand one simple fact. Not all aluminum is created equal. Producing aluminum, smelting it from raw bauxite, is one of the most energy-intensive industrial processes on planet Earth. It is a congealed electricity business. It takes a staggering amount of power to turn that red rock into the lightweight metal that builds our world. And how you get that power changes everything. Globally, the vast majority of aluminum is made using the cheapest, dirtiest power source available: coal. This is what we call dirty aluminum. According to data from the International Aluminium Institute and Bloomberg, producing 1 ton of aluminum using coal-fired power, the global average, dominated by producers in China or Russia, dumps between 16 and 18 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Remember that number, 16 to 18 tons of CO2. Now, look at Canada. For nearly a century, Canada, and specifically the province of Quebec, invested billions in a different kind of power. Massive, government-scale hydroelectric projects. Quebec hydroelectric power. Today, more than 99% of Quebec's entire energy grid is powered by water. And its aluminum smelters, the ones in the original script from Alcoa and Rio Tinto, are plugged directly into that grid. So, what is the carbon footprint of low-carbon aluminum from Canada? It's not 16 tons. It's between 2 and 4 tons. Let that sink in. That is an 80% carbon discount. This isn't just a marketing label. This is a fundamental, verifiable, strategic difference. Companies like Rio Tinto are already marketing this premium product under brands like Renewal. For decades, this strategic asset, this massive carbon advantage, was irrelevant. To an American buyer in the Midwest, aluminum was aluminum. A U.S. auto parts manufacturer didn't care if the metal was made with coal or with water, as long as the price was right. This 80% carbon discount had zero value in the American market. Trump's tariffs were based on this old-world thinking. His administration was looking backward, using 20th century tools, traditional tariffs, to fight a trade war. He assumed the only thing that mattered was price. He was wrong. Because while America was ignoring carbon, Europe was building a weapon around it. Module 5, Europe's geopolitical weapon, CBAM. Voiceover, adopting geopolitical strategist persona. This brings us to the second and most critical piece of this puzzle. It's a European Union policy with a very bureaucratic name. The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. CBAM. Forget the name. Here is what it does. CBAM is, quite simply, a climate tariff. It's a tax the EU places on dirty goods imported from outside its borders. The mechanism is simple. If you are a German car maker and you import a ton of dirty aluminum made with 18 tons of CO2, you will pay a massive tax at the border. A tax designed to make that dirty aluminum financially toxic. But if you import clean, low-carbon aluminum, like the Canadian green aluminum made with 2 tons of CO2, you pay little to nothing. The EU's goal is to protect its own industries from being undercut by foreign polluters. It is, in effect, a geopolitical weapon designed to force the rest of the world to decarbonize or be shut out of the world's largest trading bloc. And here is the crucial detail the media missed. The timeline is the entire story. As of October 2023, CBAM officially entered its transitional phase. This means that right now, in 2025, as this hypothetical tariff war is kicking off, a new reality is already in place. During this transitional phase, every single European importer is forced by law to track and report the exact carbon footprint of every ton of aluminum they buy. The clock is ticking. They know that in just a few months, January 1st, 2026, the financial tariffs begin. The tax becomes real. The fines become real. Any European manufacturer, any German automaker, any Italian construction firm, anyone caught holding dirty aluminum will face a massive, crippling bill. Module 6, the CBAM checkmate. Now, let's put the two pieces together. This is the checkmate. Number 1. Trump's hypothetical 50% tariff hits. This tariff makes Canadian green aluminum financially impossible to sell in the United States. The old market, which was 95% of Canada's business, is gone. Number 2. The EU's CBAM is simultaneously entering its final countdown. European manufacturers are in a panic. They are desperately searching the globe for large, stable, verifiable sources of clean, low-carbon aluminum to secure their supply chains before the 2026 tax hammer falls. They need to dump their dirty Russian and Chinese aluminum, and they need to do it fast. And suddenly, 50,000 tons of the cleanest aluminum on Earth, Canadian green aluminum, becomes available on the open market. That 50,000-ton pivot wasn't a desperate sale. It was a strategic repositioning. Those European manufacturers in Italy and Germany weren't helping Canada. They were strategically stocking the single most valuable commodity they needed from one of the only major sources on Earth, Canada, before their own government's 2026 tariffs kicked in. Think about what this means. Trump's tariff didn't just push Canada away, it pushed Canada directly into the arms of a new premium market that valued its strategic advantage, K-word, even more than the US did. It pushed a low-margin commodity supplier into becoming a high-margin strategic partner. The original script was right. Trump's 82% price spike damaged American manufacturing. It damaged the American workers it claimed to protect. American farmers needing new equipment, American companies building trucks or beverage cans were all forced to pay more. But the reason they paid more is not just because the supply was tight, it's because the premium supply, the clean supply, had just been redirected to a smarter market. Module 7, conclusion, and thesis. So let's be clear. Trump's tariffs, in this scenario, failed. But they didn't fail just because Canada was lucky to find new buyers. They failed because Mark Carney's government and Canada's industry understood something the Trump administration did not. The most valuable strategic advantage in 2025 isn't just cost. It's carbon. It's Carney's climate strategy. It's the decades of investment in Quebec hydroelectric power. Trump was playing 20th century checkers using traditional tariffs. Carney's Canada was playing 21st century chess, using climate policy as a geopolitical asset. Module 8, Resonance Loop. This entire trade shift was decided by carbon. So, this is the real question we need to ask. Do you believe the future of global trade, the future of manufacturing, will be decided by carbon tariffs, like the EU CBAM, rather than the traditional tariffs Trump used? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. This shift to green aluminum is just the beginning. The EU's new carbon border tariff, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, is set to change everything for global manufacturing. It will impact steel, cement, fertilizer, and much more. To understand exactly how that mechanism works and what it means for American industry, be sure to watch our next video where we break down what is the EU's CBAM